There you go. You've got. I just got back from a couple of weeks of both vacation, like a workation. I was doing a little bit of work and then a little bit of vacationing throughout Europe. But Sam, you've got some trips ahead of you coming up, yeah?
Yeah, off to Amsterdam in a couple of weeks for an event over there on employer referrals. And then about a week and a half later, off to Berlin for the final event of the year. So two more to go and then rest time.
Did you say you're going to Amsterdam in a couple of weeks or for a couple of weeks?
No, my wife would kill me if it was for a couple of weeks, in a couple of weeks. And yeah, it's for an employee referrals event over there. So looking forward to that. Should be good.
Yeah, very cool. Amsterdam is probably one of my favorite cities in the world. It's just so fun, and the architecture is great. And I finally got to go to the Anne Frank, the whole exhibit. You go see the house and you walk through it. You've done it, but in all the times I've been, I think it's been 5 times. I've never been able to book it to go. And we got tickets, I think at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night or something crazy. And we got to go through it, and it was just amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, canal trips, a little more lighthearted to do the canals and tours, but they were pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. It's a great city. My wife and I were actually saying it's like one of the cities that we would consider potentially moving to, living for a while. It's just such a lovely place.
Yeah. How is Berlin, Sam? I hear it's just an incredible place with a lot of startups.
Berlin is a real buzzy place. And from a startup perspective, a great place to be. It's also a really fun city. So yeah, it's a cool city. It's got a bit of everything, but the startup ecosystem there is really happening.
Cool.
Yeah, we've started this conversation. My partner, we've started this conversation of where she and I might live for like a year. So to your point, Sam, like Amsterdam would be. Could I live in Amsterdam long term? Probably not, but a year, awesome. Tokyo, another one, a year, awesome.
I just got back from Japan actually, and we were there for a couple of weeks, and we were saying the same thing. Living in Tokyo for a year, wow, it'd be unbelievable. No, we've been saying the same thing. Like, I mean, as you know, our kid is pretty young, 14 months, but like we would love to go and live somewhere for a few years while the kid is young, and we've got that freedom. Don't want to live in London my whole life,
Well, you have to do it when they're young enough that they don't have friends that they will hate you for moving them away from. You have to find that sweet spot window.
Exactly. Like it's what we call secondary school, what you call, I guess, like high school. Just doing it before then, essentially, before they get too rooted. Essentially.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. Well, look, we got a couple of things we want to talk about. Are you guys ready to jump in?
Betcha.
Okay, I'll take it as a delayed action for yes, but let's get going. Here we go.
CXR Channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
All right. I love it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Recruiting Community podcast show. I am your host, Monica. I have with me my guest co-moderator, partner in crime, spirit animal, Rachel. How are you, Rachel?
I'm wonderful. and I'm really happy with yeah. I don't
It's a friend's reference. It's a
friendly opportunity. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. All right. Look, we got a lot going on today. We're going to talk with our industry friend. I was in the intro here, Sam Davies. He's founder and CEO of Real Links. We're going to talk about the Convergence. Interestingly enough, from a conversation I had with him a number of weeks ago, this Convergence that he's found of employee referrals and advocacy programs, and kind of an interesting story about how he got there. But a few things before we jump in there, a couple of little housekeeping items. We are streaming on the YouTube, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Twitch. You can check out past and future episodes at cxr.works/podcast. If you happen to be on LinkedIn, where we're streaming today, you can say hello in the chat. which would be a great way to just jump into the show. If you add a comment, you got a question for a guest or for Jerry and I, you can do that. We throw those up on the screen, make sure that those get heard or seen. You can also add in the comments after the fact. I think we get a little notification or whatnot. We try to follow up on all of those. And as a reminder, this is an ad-free labor of love. Jerry, anybody writing us any fat checks for these broadcasts?
I haven't seen a single one.
No, there's no skinny checks either. Nobody's writing any money. It's a labor of love, right? Nobody's paying to be on the show. If they're on here, it's because they're friends of ours or they're doing really good work that we want to highlight and kind of showcase. We're excited about that. Last bit of housekeeping, 2 things I want to remind everybody about: the CXR Marketplace. And I think I've actually got a link. I can throw this up, cxr.works/marketplace. There it is. And this is kind of a fun thing that our leaders and thousands kind of weighed in to help develop. But this is a list of all of the vendors, solutions, providers, and partners that our talent acquisition community members are using. And we have now collected, I think we're almost up to 500, Jerry, with over 7,000 ratings and reviews that sit in this. But there are elements of community woven in. I don't know. You want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's really a couple things that I think are really important to us, and this is certainly one of them. But what I love most about the directory is the ability to benchmark, so that our members are able to reach out to other members when they're looking for products and services, and we give them the contact information, and they can benchmark to their heart's content.
Yeah, I love it. We've had a couple of new features in there as well. We've got lists. You can build custom lists of your own for any grouping or organization of particular vendors. So if you're kind of shopping and want to create some own short lists, you can do that now. You'll find that up in the profile setting. And there was one more. Gosh, Jerry, there was one more new element we added that I was going to include, and I forgot. So I'll have to mention it. I'll interrupt this in the middle of the show later. Say again.
Okay. The radio, the radar piece.
Oh, the radar. Yeah, we do have it. Yeah, we do have it. I thought it was radio. I was like, did we add a radio? There is a radar feature up at the top. You can check it out. It's sort of a beta update of how we're sort of visually showcasing where folks sort of sit within the community landscape and how they've been rated. Kind of interesting for you to check out, completely interactive. And it moves them all the way from an adopt to these outer rings of sort of investigate, learn more, that sort of thing. But you should check it out. It is completely based on ratings and reviews submitted by practitioners. It is not Jerry or our opinions of what's going on there, but it's really slick, kind of fun new tool. And then the last thing, we're wrapping up at the end of the year. If you've got donation money from your organization, or they do a match and you'd like to donate to a charity, CXR Foundation, also another labor of love. We have an amazing board that is put together. We do some really fun work, and it kind of touches on we have a backstory, origin story with our guest today regarding the CXR Foundation and how that came around. But we're going to pull him in to talk about it. But if you're interested, there's a QR code here on the screen. You can scan that. Or if you're on the treadmill or bicycle or doing whatever you're doing, you're just listening, you can go to cxr.foundation. That is a real URL, I promise. All right, let's bring in Sam.
Hey guys.
Hey Sam, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yourselves?
Yeah, good. Doing quite well. I was out for 3 weeks, as we mentioned. I think we talked a little bit before the show, but I've been out for 3 weeks. It's nice to be back in the chair. So it's good. A little workation.
Good.
So Sam, let's do this. I think it would be really great if we could kind of get an elevator or an escalator pitch of who you are, because I know you are, Sam, you are founder, CEO, philosopher, historian, bit of a lawman. You're kind of in a renaissance. A lot of people may not know that kind of stuff. You want to kind of give a little backstory? Like who's Sam Davies? Why are we listening to him today?
Yeah, great question. Go through it with my therapist quite a bit. So it's it's been a bit of a journey. So I, as you quite rightly pointed out, am I still here? Sorry, you guys.
Yep, we still see you.
Yep. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so started in philosophy and history at uni, realized I couldn't get a career as a philosopher. Frankly, wasn't good enough at philosophy to start writing the next profound piece. But moved into law, decided to sell my soul a little bit there as a corporate lawyer. But it wasn't all bad, because I got referred from one law firm to another years back. And it really got me thinking about that whole referral process. The fact that it wasn't really being promoted, it wasn't really happening, despite me being the exception to the rule. And thinking, you know what, there's something that could be done here. Now, I couldn't start a business on a me problem. I went out to market and realized actually across the board, referrals were struggling and failing, I'd probably say, actually. And Real was born back in 2018. And it's been a real journey. And you know a fair bit about that journey, Chris, but to sort of have started there, spent a long time on a platform that wasn't necessarily market ready, but learning a lot along the way. And then that leading to where we're at now, which is very much that convergence, as you spoke to at the top, around employee referrals and employer brand advocacy. I can talk a bit more about how we got there, and how and why we got there, or we can sort of save that for later in the show. So you're cool.
No, I think it's great to dive in. I love the background story. I'll share a little bit. When we connected, we saw some real possibility for partnership with what we were working on at the CXR Foundation. We were really trying to come up with this mentoring or connectivity tool. And Sam, you were and just Sam didn't know that I was going to say this, but Sam, you were so gracious and so willing to partner that you spun up an instance of the platform just for the mentoring and networking at no cost. You charged nobody for anything. You just leaned in because you knew that what we were doing with CXR Foundation was to try to help displaced TA leaders, try to help those practitioners who were in transition. And I'll tell you, Sam, I mean, a couple hundred people used the platform. We got great feedback from those that engaged in the platform and that were using it. And that essentially sort of brought us to what we have it's called Community Up. And it is a membership that we now do at Career Crossroads for free, full membership for leaders who are in transition. Jerry, how many folks do you think we interviewed for that Community Up piece total?
Almost 200.
Yeah, easily. So hundreds interviewed, with I think about 50 or so that were actually let in. But Sam, that you were kind of the gateway to that work that we did, and so we'll always, forever be grateful to that, which is super fun. But along the way, we reached out and said, well, we're not sure what we're going to do next with this platform, and then you dropped a bombshell on us that you had pivoted.
Yeah. So. The aspect that you're talking about there on the side is we've also got like an internal mobility solution, which had an aspect of mentorship. And that's still something that we have, and a number of our clients use it. But our big learning, and I think it's actually where a lot of platforms go wrong. We spent the initial part of our existence as a company thinking, how do we make this perfect product, this perfect platform that does everything we want it to do from a referral standpoint, and even a mentorship or internal mobility standpoint. But the complete missing ingredient with that was employees have so many systems that they're trying to engage with on a day-to-day basis, and they're overwhelmed by it. And you put another one in the mix. How do you get people to go there? And we always struggle with engagement. Always really struggle with it. We came up with loads of different tactics. We were running what we called referral jams, where you get people together, and it was a struggle, and it was something we spent ages thinking about. We, about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, thought we're going about this wrong. We're asking employees to come to us. We need to change this, and we need to meet employees where they are. And the guiding principle of absolutely everything we build and everything we do is now that. What do I mean by that? So we built these integrations with Slack, Teams, email, various mobile apps, so that from an employee standpoint, you could participate directly from within those channels. So we want employees to share jobs. Let's give them automatic notifications in a channel that they use on a daily basis, whether it be Teams, Slack, email, or mobile. You still have the same. So it's essentially bringing all of the platform functionality, but bringing it into Teams or bringing it into Slack, bringing it to email. Suddenly, our engagement went through the roof. Suddenly, we were seeing engagement levels like we'd never come close to before. Which then kind of got us thinking, well, we're doing this for employee referrals, but when you're thinking about employee advocacy, you're fundamentally looking to solve the same problem. The problem that you're trying to solve here is employee engagement. So why have we historically looked at employee referrals as so different to employee advocacy? Why is it that companies have somebody in the TA team managing referrals, and maybe somebody, if there is an employer brand team, and I've seen a lot about what you guys have been putting out, who owns it, where does it sit? And that's an ongoing debate. But I think this almost sits separate to that. It's wherever it sits in the organization, and it will vary from company to company. Why is it not the same person or the same team managing referrals and advocacy together? And a lot of the time where they're being managed separately, you've got this crossover. Like you've got one team pinging people comms saying, hey, share this content. Maybe on the same day, an hour later, you've got another team saying, hey, share these jobs. It's not joined up. So we thought, okay, there's an opportunity here. If we've solved engagement for referrals, let's move this over and let's do it from an advocacy perspective. And we had a bit of an advantage because we started in the referral space. We built all the ATS integrations. And one of the things that employer brand folk often struggle with is how do you demonstrate ROI beyond like impressions, likes, etc. Sure. Right? And because of that referral starting point, when we do advocacy, we're looking at that full funnel. Well, how many applications, interviews, and hires has this generated? How many people have ended up in the talent pool because of that? And that's really helped. But what's interesting, if I look at the market at the moment, I'm not going to name names here, it feels like the market's sort of realizing that they need to bring those two things together, that actually it should be the same person / same team, depending on the size of your organization, looking after both together. And those companies that are managing both together, the results they're getting off them, of both programs in a combined way, is pretty compelling. There are lots of additional benefits to it. I'll give you one from an ED&I perspective. Referrals, I think, like the elephant in the room of referrals historically has been, okay, what does that do to diversity? And I think it's a fair call out. Like, are we referring more people like us? Is that going to be a problem? Now, I think when we look at the data, the impact on diversity really depends on your starting point. If you've got a diversity problem generally in your organization, it's not going to help it. If you've got a more diverse breakdown within your organization, actually referrals can be a force for good, because you can actually lean into the diversity that you already have. But the reason I bring it up is when you think of advocacy and referrals side by side, you can really start using it quite strategically. So we've got a client, their focus was, I'll talk through it as a case study very briefly. Great Western Railway, big train operator in the UK. They really struggle to get women in rail. Mm-hmm. So we work with their Women in Rail employee resource group to start a campaign. They encouraged that group of people via the Teams automation in their use case and the mobile automation to share content as a starting point. The content was all around what it was like to be a female driver, but connected directly from the content was the jobs in that particular area. So it wasn't an advocacy campaign in the sense of we're just sharing content. What we're talking about here is connecting content to specific jobs that you want people to apply for from a diversity lens. They usually get, I think their previous campaign, the best they'd ever done was 11% female hires. They ran this campaign, which was referrals and advocacy together, sharing content and jobs together. Yeah. It led to 27% female applications. And we're seeing that across the board. So not only does it make sense from a, I guess, process perspective, from a team structure perspective, to have these two things together, but when you combine content sharing and job sharing together, it can be so much more powerful and help you to achieve your strategic goals, because ultimately the content that they were sharing was going to be more persuasive than just sharing a job description, essentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. I think it's kind of interesting to me, as you're saying, like, why don't these two things, why aren't they owned by the same teams or same team members? Because often they are not. Is there kind of an aha moment? I mean, do you have fun in sort of seeing the light bulb come on when you're talking to these orgs, we're like, well, shit, we don't know why we don't have these two tied together, or gosh, we hadn't thought of, the benefits sort of trickling over, getting these secondary impacts.
Honestly, Chris, when I first started talking about it, I was like, I must be missing something, right? Like, why hasn't this been happening? Because it just feels so logical, right? That you would have the two things together, solving the same problem, avoid crossing over. But it's exactly as you described. Like, the amount of conversations I've had over the last year being like, yeah, why wouldn't you put them together? Or what? And you mean that my marketing team could use this too, and we could split the budget? Yeah, like, that's also like, an interesting thing. So yeah, it is an aha moment. And I think speaking candidly, if you've got somebody who's very good at recruitment marketing, now not every organization has that, right? So I get that. And you've depending on your size, depending on your team structure, I think like there's also an element of like, find the best person in the team to do that, help skill them up, etc. But if you do have a recruitment marketing person in your team, that person's skill set shouldn't just be focused on advocacy, because they've got the ideal skill set for referrals as well. Because it is essentially the same thing, right? Referrals is a form of advocacy. You are working out engagement strategies in exactly the same way you would be for an advocacy program.
Sam, with what you're doing, are you able to take some of the outcomes, some of the data that you're collecting now for clients, and use that transparently to inform candidates about the importance of being able to have a referral?
Yeah, I suppose we are. It's a good question. It's not. So when you say the importance, you mean just sort of like, this is why referral programs matter. This is why, it should matter to you as a candidate. Is that what you mean?
Well, it also would direct candidates towards engaging, or at least looking for people internal to the company that they might be connected to, so that they're instigating, if you will, their own referral, increasing the likelihood that they're going to get up to bat. You're
right. Yeah, understood. I think, this rings a bell. Actually, I think you and I might have discussed this before. I think, yes, and I think it's even more powerful when employees are sharing a piece of content as well, because when they're saying, here's a piece of content, whether it's a video of me or whether it's a video of my colleague, firstly, it seems that much more genuine, and secondly, it seems that much more approachable. It's like, this is what it's like to work here. Please come and speak to me. There's something a little bit colder about just sending out a job description. So yes, I think that is a benefit. I think when you're thinking about, now, not every employee wants to put themselves out there and say, come speak to me. Some will be more open to that than others. But when people are posting, particularly content, you'll see those that are more willing to put their hand up and say, come and have a chat with me, etc. They'll do that in their post, which will subsequently invite more of that. So,
okay.
I like the insinuation there that you made, Sam, ever so lightly, about a challenge you may have with people sort of sharing these, right? Because I think adoption and engagement will always be a little bit of a rock you're pushing uphill, right? Regardless of the platform or the push. But so it makes me kind of want to ask you, from a challenges and solutions standpoint, do you have one or two stories or something you can share with regards to maybe the biggest challenges some of your customers may have seen when merging those two strategies, or when merging those two teams, and have they been effectively addressed, or are they just slamming it all in and saying, let's figure it out?
Great question. So firstly, the biggest, from an engagement standpoint, as we spoke about, meet employees where they are. But a lot of the time, engagement dries up because you overwhelm employees. You send them like non-stop comms, brain-numbing comms, which aren't relevant for them, asking them to do stuff for you the entire time. We used to run tons of focus groups on this. But if you think about those two things being managed separately, like, that's just one thing piling on top of the other, right? And then you end up feeling like employees have just had enough. Like, I I don't have capacity to do this all of the time. So in answer to your question, where we see this work most effectively is when you start looking at this from a campaign methodology perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So stop, in my opinion, sort of those automatic emails that go out to everybody on a Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it is that you've picked, with a list of your latest jobs and a list of your latest pieces of content that you want people to share. When you start moving to combine campaigns where you're thinking about, like, just like you would think about like a content calendar, right? And like your engagement strategies internally, when you align the referral strategy in terms of engagement and the content strategy, you're ensuring that people aren't overwhelmed with comms. The more comms you send, the lower the engagement that you'll get. So you align those two things, but then you stop asking employees to do it all the time. The knock-on effect of that, and we see this with some of our probably our most successful clients. When you talk about referrals, now I'll just use that because it's a slightly simpler example for this. We often talk about referral success based on percentages. So we'll say, where are you at currently? Well, I'm at 5%. Well, you should be at 30%. Now, of course, increasing from 5% to 30% is something that we can do. But my question is always then, but are you getting referrals where you want and when you need them, where and when you need them? You don't necessarily need referrals across the whole organization. You don't necessarily need people sharing specific pieces of content all of the time, but you do need those pieces of content shared in particular areas, i.e. my brand is particular, my company brand is really, really strong in this area, but it's struggling in an area of the US, and we don't have much of a brand presence there. So that should be the focus area. If we waste our time getting those employees to share content that's not really going to help the brand grow in that particular area, we've lost our opportunity with them. But actually, if we run these targeted strategic campaigns where and when we need them, the engagement that you see from those campaigns is incredibly high. So move away from an always on approach and move to a campaign-led approach and tie referrals and advocacy together. And the results you will then see are pretty staggering. And they're results where and when you need them, as opposed to worrying about a percentage increase that really isn't helping, the overall goals of your organization, for example.
Yeah. Are you having any fun sort of told you so moments with new customers as they come in?
No, I don't know. I'm not really that sort of guy in that respect. I think that I think everyone's on a journey, and everyone has preconceptions, and I think there's a maturity level to it, and I get and what we'll probably always do from a first step perspective is, look, you want to try it that way, we'll do one campaign like you want to do.
There you go.
And we'll do another like we'd recommend, and let's review, because we don't have all the answers. Every company culture is slightly different. So it might be that you want to do it this way, we want to do it this way, and actually we've learned good things. So we've done a lot of it, and yes, we've seen success across lots of different organizations, but we're still learning. And I think it's important to not go into these conversations with these TA leaders and say you've got all the answers. The best campaigns, the best results we ever see are those that are collaborative and adjusting campaigns based on the culture of the organization.
I love it. Look, we make a practice of nobody doing a pitch here, but like I said, Sam, you've been a friend of ours for years. We love the work that you're doing. You're a smart guy and you're fun to talk to. Where do you want us to send folks who want to learn a little bit more about the pivot, or maybe just some more about Real Links?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So if you want to reach out to me directly, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me at sam@reallinks.io. You've got my LinkedIn bottom of the screen there as well. Please reach out. Also, you can check our website out, reallinks.io as well. Love to speak to you. Love to chat to you about what we're doing around referrals and advocacy. And thank you, Chris. And thank you, Jerry.
I love it. I have to tell you, we ask this question. We ask this question at the end for every guest. And it's a funny thing to ask today, because lately I've been trying to get away from, I watch a lot of TV, I watch a lot of movies, Sam, and I've been moving to documentaries. I've been getting back to reading. But interestingly enough, I recently bought a book about gravity, and I just couldn't put it down. No, thank you, Jerry. That's my dad joke today. I thought I'd slip it in there. The real question I have for you, I'm blushing at my own joke. At least I find me funny. The real question I have for you, Sam, that we do ask at the end of every show is if you're going to write a book, about this topic, about the lessons that you've learned here, what would you title that book?
Years lost.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's oh God, I could. Let's years lost, years gained. I don't know. It's been it's been such a journey, like such a roller coaster, and like, oh my God. I don't know if but yeah, it's we'll stick with years lost. But I say it tongue in cheek because it has been an awesome journey.
Look, I love your headspace around the whole thing, and that you're learning as you go, and you're building on your lessons learned. I love it. I love Years Lost. I think it's great. We'll add a subtitle to it when you publish. Jerry and I can write the forward. We're happy to help with that. Sam, who do you give, present company excluded, who are you going to give the first signed copy to?
My wife, as an apology. Actually, she won't want to read it. So
She's been there. She doesn't need to relive
it. Yeah, exactly. It's the last thing she wants to read.
Oh my God, Sam! Look, much gratitude. You're a super busy person. You're on the other side of the planet, so appreciate your flexibility. Obviously, with the time zones to dial in, it's always a ball to chat and catch up with you. And I can't wait to sort of hear how this continues to grow for you guys. I'm really proud of the work you guys are doing.
Thanks, mate. Great to see you guys.
Yeah,
very cool.
Good stuff. Everybody, we're doing this weekly. So come back and join us, cxr.work/podcast, if you want to check out, again, the past and future episodes that we've got coming up. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Let's say goodbye.
Cheers, everyone.
There we go. All right.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram @careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.